Hey everyone, welcome to my coloring and yapping session. This should be great for body doubling or something to have on while doing chores, etc. But really, I'm not even sure if I can yap for this long. We'll see. Also, the coloring isn't perfect, so if you're looking for that, this probably isn't the video for you. I trusted the process though and was happy with the outcome. But that was just an example of all the coloring I did in this coloring book. I'm really saying the word coloring a lot, but all of the work I did in this coloring book as a child, and I think there was like one page there where it looked like I had done that in more recent years, since it was with markers. But for the most part, that was me as a kid. I really loved being creative growing up, and I loved animals, so it makes sense to me that this was my favorite coloring book. It also, oh my gosh, it makes me want to make a snake oracle deck. I feel like that would be so awesome. It's funny too because I really liked being creative and I really liked writing growing up, and I was good at both of them. And it's funny now that a huge dream of mine is making decks someday. I hope. Whether that's getting better at art or hiring someone to help me, I definitely just have so many ideas, and that would be like the dream life achievement for me. I had someone say recently, like, oh, you should do that. And I was like, yes, yes, that's very much on the agenda at some point. But to get into why we're even talking about snakes this year, for the Chinese New Year, we are entering the year of the wood snake. It's the year of the snake, and then the element, which also rotates, is wood. And apparently, wood is a lot about growth. And so that seems like a really auspicious combination with the snake because snakes are all about growth and healing and transformation. So it sounds like it could be a really powerful year. Also, I was really going to town on these leaves. Oh my gosh, yeah, really trusting the process. It was hard to get like the gradients I was trying to get. I looked at the example image a lot just for the example of what it could look like, but I ultimately went rogue a little bit, maybe for a lot of it, but it was fun sort of to just try to paint with the markers almost. I don't do this a lot if that wasn't obvious. I really want to do more though because this really was a good time. It really helps you just like process anything or really lock in if you're trying to avoid things, which, there are much less healthy coping mechanisms out there. I'll say that. But just to dive into snakes, which, oof, scary visual, it's all about resilient rejuvenation and shedding skin. And snakes honestly give me wounded healer energy. They're really misunderstood, and a lot of the time I feel like venom is demonized, but in reality, the dose decides the medicine. That's what a lot of doctors say, and it's true. There are tons of things that are good in a certain amount and then bad for you in excess. And if I remember correctly, I believe I'm not making this up, some venom is actually used for medicinal purposes at the right dosage. So I think it's just really easy to resist change, as change is very difficult for us humans a lot of the time. But you never know how much you might be grateful for something in the future. And I don't know why this is taking such like a positive motivational speech turn. I don't want to be cheesy or come off too love and light or anything, but I think this is just really a powerful opportunity this year, and I certainly hope to lean into it in that the stage is just set for really profound transformations. And I was looking at all the snakes in my different Oracle deck guidebooks, each entry that had a snake. I was just looking and seeing what was in there. And one entry that I really liked was focusing more on the intuitive element with snakes and how they're really coiled and poised for the perfect moment. And I think there's a lot there about self trust and how important that is in healing the ability to trust yourself, to know, I really have worked through this. I don't need to keep running over it over and over again. Like I can trust that I have absorbed the information and I have changed. I'm not just ready to change, I have changed, and I will act accordingly. The ability to feel more ready for things in the future, like I have learned from this, and if I see something similar again, I will act accordingly with the new information that I have after experiencing it. I've just always found that to be a really big step in a healing journey. A lot of the time, certainly when you're less raw, is just finding a moment where you realize to yourself, oh, like I've gone over this so much, whether I was ready to or not, and I'm not in resistance mode. Like, I really get it. I also love that we're talking about growth while I'm coloring all of these brilliant leaves. Like, they're growing with vitality as I spell all of it out. But there were also points when I was looking at these cards about sort of the other side of intuition, as in fear of the unknown. You know, again, there's a lot of fear around snakes. They are uncanny after all. And I think people just don't know what to do with them a lot of the time. Like, it's like, where are their legs? I don't know. Why does it move like that? Like, it's so different from so much of the other animal life that we see on a regular basis, depending on where you live. Obviously, perhaps you see tons and tons of snakes, in which case I feel for you because I feel like that would be at least a little bit stressful. Hopefully they're nice snakes though, because I mean, that's all right, I guess. But this is why I don't know if podcast style episodes are for me, because I'm just like, what was I even just talking about? I've totally lost my place. I don't know how people can just yap with more than like a bare bones outline of ideas and stay on topic and hit everything and be really coherent, but I am trying my best here. Okay, this is very experimental. I hope it's entertaining. I can really only hope. I mean, please let me know in the comments if you have feedback on that front. Actually, as I was saying that, I was like, shoot, I don't know if I really want to know, but maybe I do. I don't know. Please be nice. But to talk about fear of the unknown, I'm definitely working through still like feelings about being perceived and seen online, having this channel. There's so much I want to share, but there is also some fear there of, you know, rejection or making a mistake or wasting people's time, because I don't want anyone to ever, you know, click on the video and feel like they wasted their time watching it. I really only want to put things out if I think they're valuable in some way. And I hope I can eventually earn your trust in that, so that you know that I respect your time. Perhaps that's why this has gotten like so motivational speech like, because I feel like it has to be in some way educational, when really just talking about one's feelings and being vulnerable and sharing your experience can be just as educational. So there you go. I think I'm already overthinking this in that regard. I'm a Gemini, by the way, so you'd think I would be better at yapping, but I feel like my other placements sort of get in the way of that sometimes. But maybe it's still clear based on everything I've said so far. I don't know. Feel free to let me know about that as well. But this was really such a random idea. But again, this really was my favorite coloring book when I was a kid, and I love that I still have it. It's kind of a recent development that I found it, and I was like, I really need to use this. There's so much nostalgia there, and it was so fun. The next step is, of course, drawing more for myself, like not using a coloring book. But my focus there is more on digital art. I've been wanting to teach myself that for 5 years now, and it's so hard looking back, feeling like it was too late back then, and then thinking now, like, wow, I could literally be 5 years into that journey if I had been consistent instead of really inconsistent with it. But it's okay. That's not going to stop me now. But in my one deck, Woodland Wardens, which I'm sure a lot of you have, the plant pairing with snake is fern. And they talk about the unfurling fern being similar to a coiled snake. And as it unfurls, as the snake uncoils and sheds its skin, both are ready to transform. which is so cool. Like a coiled or curled fern has such a different vibe to an open one. And I've always loved ferns so much. They really require very specific conditions, which is why I've unfortunately killed at least a couple of them. I hate to say it. I really do hope to do a better job someday because I really like them. There's so many different kinds too. But after thinking more on those two energies and how they interplay, I really liked the pairing. They feel very much in sync and similar. I think it's so easily, or I think it's so easy to feel overwhelmed by everything going on in the world, TM. But that doesn't mean anything is going to stop us from unfurling this year and transforming and growing. I also thought this was a good choice for which image I colored in because the snake is on a tree, so it's like wood, snake, haha. Coloring the snake was so fun. I wanted to get it as dark as possible while still having nice highlights and like not losing too much detail. I didn't want it to be like all black and you can't see the scales at all. So I was really trying to do a nice ombre, which is hard to capture with just markers. Another thing I think is relevant to all of this is the sacral chakra because that is very much associated with snakes, or snakes are associated with it because of how sensually they move, I think. And when the sacral chakra is blocked, you have issues with creativity and pleasure and desire. And I think fear of the unknown and fear of change can really get in the way of those things. You know, our nervous systems can get so overwhelmed and we shut down and we miss the medicine. We miss the opportunity to lean in and to change and grow stronger, all because we failed to be truly curious about the situation and playful with it and accepting it as it is. And I know that's all much easier said than done. I hope it's clear. Like, I would never pretend that that was easy in any way because it's an incredibly difficult personal journey that probably takes a lifetime. But I just wanted to point out that I think that could easily be a theme this year. I don't know whether to keep the eyes like shiny still, but in the image in the back of the book, it looked like it was all dark, so I just went for a really well shaded head area. I think it makes it look kind of menacing, which I liked. But to go back to energetic blockages, I feel like the snake is really good at wriggling past those. Like, it's so fluid by nature, so I feel like it really symbolizes not being stuck. And I really like that for this year. I don't know. I don't mean to talk about all these things from a position of like, oh, everyone's going to have the same universal experience this year. It's more what's resonating for me specifically, and then just sharing it in the hope that it might resonate for other people in this audience as well. I hope that's clear. But when I also look at the tarot card of the year, which if you add up 2025, all those numbers, you get 9, which is the Hermit. It's interesting for me because I feel like I've had so many Hermit years already. The last few years, I think a lot of people can resonate with that. But it makes me wonder, like, oh, is it one more year of that now for me to sort of spring forward into the Wheel of Fortune slash back into the Magician energy? Because it'll be 10 in 2026 and also 1. And that sounds really promising. It's a bit demoralizing to think, oh my gosh, like another year of Hermit energy, really? But I can take it if it's one more. I don't know. I feel like I've been building towards just clearing a path towards a more creative life by like doing all this other life admin stuff that had really piled up over the years. And so now I am in a really good position to be creative. So it makes me think maybe this is a year sort of sowing seeds and then they'll really bloom next year. It's hard sometimes having a long term vision and being patient, but I think snakes really understand patience as well because, like, oh my gosh, the patience to swallow something whole and digest it. Like, I wonder if they feel uncomfortable while they're doing that or if it's just natural for them. But clearly, they can really lean into that. Same with the process of shedding. Like, that sounds really uncomfortable too, but they go through it. And I think we can learn something from that. Like sometimes you want to pull that half shed skin off like faster and it's not coming. Same with like a half dead leaf on a plant. Like you need to give it time. You don't get to decide. Not really. If you think you got to decide, it's just because it just happened to be the right time. I literally had to speed up the time lapses for this video more and more, like realizing that there's no way I can yap for that long. But hopefully I'll get better at it because I mean, I certainly have lots of ideas. I think sometimes I have this thing where it comes from work for the most part, I think, like the corporate work environment, but I really just don't like when I won't even put it to a certain group or type of person, but I just don't like it when people repeat themselves too much or just talk to talk and not add any value to the conversation. And so I always have this fear of doing that myself, but I've had to work through that and be like, A, like everyone's attentions are shot, so you really do need to repeat yourself sometimes. And B, like it's okay. Like people need to hear something like 7 times to learn it or whatever. So it's okay to go over the same thing sometimes. And that's just something I need to remember for YouTube in general is like, even if I think something isn't the most exciting novel thing ever, like it's always going to be new to someone. And there are going to be lots of people who are familiar with it, but they want to hear like your specific take or they want to dive deeper into it. And that's just something I have to remind myself that it's okay to share and just see who it resonates with. And so I hope this was valuable for you. Shout out to snakes for being really cool. I honestly think we all do have things to learn from them. And I think it's a wonderful place for this year to land. And I'm excited. So please let me know about your thoughts on the Year of the Wood Snake. I'm very curious to know how others are feeling about it. Thank you for indulging me in this session of inner child healing. It honestly was really fun. I had a good time with it, even if it was a little bit out of my comfort zone. Again, very experimental, but thank you so much for being here. Take care, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.